Remember, remember, the 5th of November, gunpowder, treason and plot. I know of no reason why the gunpowder treason should ever be forgot. And over 400 years later, we still remember, at least you remember Guy Fawkes. I know back home in England they celebrate Guy Fawkes Night, weather permitting, with a big bonfire, at least they did in my village, and burning of the guy, which I find actually kind of creepy and icky, and fireworks. I used to love it as a kid. You had to stay up late and see the fireworks and everything, and it was great. But as I said, the whole burning of the guy thing, especially as I was born a Catholic. For those of you who don't know, perhaps those of you who aren't English don't realise that officially it was a Catholic plot against the Protestant king. And the official story goes that on the night of the 5th of November 1605, a certain Guy Fawkes was caught underneath the House of Lords on the verge of lighting a whole shitload of gunpowder. And he'd done that with the help of 9 other plotters, known Catholic terrorists, no less. And, we caught him in the nick of time. Due to a tip-off, an anonymous letter given to would-be Prime Minister Robert Cecil. He actually did become Prime Minister after this, and this letter, this wonderful letter that in the end made him Prime Minister and saved the King. This letter came to him days before the actual event. Funny that, isn't it? How he supposedly received a letter with knowledge of this gunpowder plot to blow up the House of Lords when King James I was supposed to be there as well. And he said nothing until the day it happened. Well, I must say, he sure knows how to make the most of something and get the full effect of the events. But then again, he kind of planned it all, as far as I'm aware. At least, that's what I believe. I was first introduced to the idea by a history teacher back in secondary school. And I looked into it a little bit afterwards, and it is very plausible. It's much more plausible than the actual version, the actual official version of what happened. Now, Robert Cecil, as I said, he was an ambitious man, and he was all but Prime Minister before this happened, and he wanted to be Prime Minister. You know, that was what he wanted, and he was also a staunch Protestant who really didn't like Catholics, and wanted James I to be harsher on Catholics. But James I, he actually had a Catholic mother. He was raised a Protestant. He was taken from his mother as a child. His mother was Mary Queen of Scots. Now, Mary Queen of Scots was Catholic, and she was also executed by her cousin Elizabeth I, the Virgin Queen, who was also James I's predecessor, and she was executed for plotting against her cousin Elizabeth. But as I said, he was raised a Protestant. Also, his father, I think I'm not mistaken in saying it was Lord Darcy, he was murdered. He was murdered and his house blown up. So James had this deep-rooted fear of explosions, of gunpowder, and Robert Cecil knew this, of course, and he played on that with this whole gunpowder plot. And so he elaborated this plan with the help of a Catholic called Lord Monteagle. Now, this is a staunch Protestant, a Puritan even, I would go as far as to say, and a Catholic working hand in hand. But then I think that Robert Cecil's ambition, he was just so ambitious, and the ends justified the means to what he wanted to accomplish, and he actually accomplished it, unfortunately. And so with the help of Lord Monteagle, he managed to set up the plotters with the house, which was rented, with all the tools necessary to dig the tunnel, and they arranged for tons of earth and stuff to be taken out at night, and the barrels of gunpowder brought in, etc. It was all paid for and orchestrated by Cecil and Co. And Guy Fawkes is certain that he was in on it. I think there was at least one other plotter who was in on it, but at least half of them were in the dark on this. They thought this was the real deal. And now those who were in on it were promised that they would be spared, that they would have their lives spared, and that they would be set free. You know, they would be exiled, but they would be safe, in exchange for helping Robert Cecil to become Prime Minister. Of course, Robert Cecil did not keep his word. No, they had a very messy traitor's death, which was violent, long-winded, excruciatingly painful, and very gory. And for Catholics at this time, if the body wasn't buried as a whole, they didn't go to heaven. So you can imagine pretty terrible for a Catholic to have his body parts displayed on spikes as a warning to other people who would be traitors. So yeah, it's a very sad story, actually. A very sad story, and at the same time, it's a very early false flag. 400 years ago, the first false flag that I have known about. Of course, it was for multiple reasons, so that for Cecil to get more power, to make the king more anti-Catholic, and to make the population more anti-Catholic as well. So yet again, I would go as far as to say that at least Robert Cecil, if not his friend Lord Monteagle, were psychopaths, creating a hoax using patsies. And oh, the irony, thanks to the fantastic film V for Vendetta, which I have to say I do love that film, and of course thanks to Anonymous as well, who I personally think are controlled opposition, possibly CIA, who knows. Thanks to these two things, Guy Fawkes has become a symbol for a revolution, and Guy Fawkes was a patsy. Guy Fawkes was a patsy. November the 5th was the date of a very early false flag event. And people are using these things as symbols for a revolution, to overthrow those people, those psychopaths in power who are carrying out false flags, who are carrying out hoaxes on a much larger scale, manipulating people on a much larger scale, using patsies. And we're fighting them, and yet we're using a patsy and the date of a false flag event as symbols. Oh, the irony. I don't think we need these dates and this mask. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's superflu. I don't even know if superflu is an English word. It is in French. It means too much. It means unnecessary, excessive, if you like. It's just completely unnecessary. We don't need masks and specific historical dates to bring about change. No, that is the work of every day. It's all nice and lovely to go and march against Parliament and everything, raise awareness or whatever, but the real change, The real work is every single day spreading that info, walking the talk, doing the work on yourself, and trying to educate people. And this is what I'm doing this video for, is to open your eyes to the truth. And if you don't believe me, please do look into the key names. You know, type in Lord Monteagle, Robert Cecil, of course Guy Fawkes, the gunpowder plot, and alternative theories. And I would say there's more evidence for the so-called alternative theories, that is to say the false flag, the hoax, than there is for the official version. But there we are. Anyway, I just thought that those of you who are really truth seekers would be interested to know this. And I find it funny and frustrating at the same time that that these symbols are used. I know that they come mainly from V for Vendetta, and it is a brilliant film, and I'm sure most people think of that when they see the Guy Fawkes mask, and they think about the 5th of November. But I think you should be aware of the origins of all of this, and that's why I'm making this video, to let you know the truth. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. I hope you have a great day, and I shall speak to you soon.